The news hits like a gut punch this week. Gene Hackman, the old-school Hollywood legend of the French Connection, Unforgiven and Superman, gone. Found dead in his Santa Fe home alongside his wife and one of their 3 dogs. A tragedy, sure, but the details? They're so twisted even the mainstream media can't whitewash it. Something is off, way off. And the media are barely scratching the surface. Here's what the media won't tell you. Gene Hackman wasn't some retired millionaire kicking back in New Mexico. He was neighbours with Jeffrey Epstein. Yes, that's Epstein. And get this, he owned an island right next door to Oprah Winfrey's private island in British Columbia. Cozy, right? But Gene wasn't playing nice with the elite anymore. Word is he was sick to death of the Epstein client list cover-up. He told friends he was done watching the deep state and rogue FBI agents shred the truth. He was ready to talk, ready to burn it all down. Then, out of nowhere, he's gone. Suspicious doesn't even cover it. It's a neon sign screaming foul play. And we've got the unfiltered truth coming up. Details so chilling, they'll haunt you. What went down in that house? And why did Gene Hackman's last stand threaten to unravel everything for the untouchable elite? Before we dive in, join the TPV free speech community over on Soju. Soju is a digital space where ideas and information can take place without any annoying algorithms or restrictive rules getting in the way of free expression. And sign up to become a member of the world's first ever cybernation that truly believes in life, liberty, and the pursuit of your dreams. Visit joson.com and click the Join Us button today. It's completely free. It's Wednesday, February the 26th, 2025 in Santa Fe, New Mexico. Sheriff's deputies roll up to the sprawling mansion of Gene Hackman, the gruff Oscar-winning star of classics like The French Connection and Unforgiven. Inside, they find a scene that's odd, to say the least. Gene is sprawled in the entryway. His wife Betsy is lying on her right side in the bathroom, a space heater tipped over next to her head. The door is wide open. One of their dogs is dead. The other 2 are still wandering around, tails wagging like nothing's wrong. And then there's this. A spilled bottle of pills scattered across the floor like some kind of clue begging to be noticed. The Santa Fe County Sheriff's Office calls it suspicious enough to launch a full investigation. No gunshot wounds, no stab marks, no forced entry, no obvious signs of a struggle. So what's the official story? They float the idea of a carbon monoxide leak. Classic, right? But here is where it starts to unravel. The New Mexico Gas Company tests the lines. Nothing. The fire department sweeps for carbon monoxide. Zilch. And those 2 dogs? If carbon monoxide took Gene and Betsy out, why are 2 dogs still trotting around like they're auditioning for a Purina commercial? The carbon monoxide theory is the kind of lazy plot twist you'd see in a straight-to-streaming flop. It doesn't hold water. Carbon monoxide detectors are required by law in New Mexico. So people start whispering murder. But why? Why would anyone target Gene Hackman, a guy who's been out of the spotlight for 2 decades? To answer that, we've got to rewind the tape on who Gene Hackman really was and what he knew about Jeffrey Epstein and his VIP friends. Gene wasn't just some Hollywood legend with a gravelly voice and a knack for playing tough guys. He was a man who'd seen the machine from the inside. Born in the 30s, he clawed his way up from a hard-knock working-class life, served as a Marine for 5 years, and then became one of the most versatile actors of his generation. Villains, heroes, anti-heroes, you name it. In the early 2000s, at the top of his game, he quit Hollywood. Officially, he retired because a doctor warned him about his heart. But talk to the people who knew him, and you'll hear a very different story. Gene was done with Hollywood's filth. The creeps, the perverts, the power players who smiled for the cameras while living double lives, he couldn't stomach it anymore. And here's where it gets interesting. Gene Hackman wasn't just any millionaire retiree sipping coffee in New Mexico. His mansion? It's just down the road from Jeffrey Epstein's infamous Zorro Ranch. Yeah, that Epstein. The man whose VIP client list is currently the subject of an enormous tussle between the federal government and rogue elements within the FBI. And yeah, that ranch. The one frequented by Bill Clinton and other VIP elites.
Mexico Ranch, once belonging to the late Jeffrey Epstein, is now under new ownership. The deed lists the new owner of Zorro Ranch in a remote part of Santa Fe County as San Rafael Ranch, LLC. We were not able to reach the company to learn about the plans for the property. We did hear back from the Epstein estate, who says the proceeds will be used to pay the estate's creditors. The ranch was listed for $27.5 million when it went on the market 2 years ago, but details of the sale, including the final purchase price, remain confidential. The ranch is one of the properties where Epstein, a convicted sex offender, was accused of assaulting dozens of women and girls.
Coincidence? Maybe. But then you dig deeper, and the coincidences start piling up like bodies in a slasher flick. Like Epstein, Gene Hackman owned islands. Not one, but two. First, Fawn Island, a private 2.3-acre spot in Washington's San Juan Islands, sold in 2008. Then, a bigger, more secluded island of British Columbia, shrouded in secrecy. Barely a whisper about that sale, like somebody paid extra to keep it off the books. Now, who was his neighbour in that neck of the woods? Oprah Winfrey. Yep, the queen of daytime TV, who's been deep in the trenches with the most evil figures in child trafficking history, including Epstein, Harvey Weinstein, and John of God.
Oprah legitimized the notorious sex criminal Joe Teixeira, aka John of God, as a miraculous faith healer, one who could cure cancer, giving him international recognition. Joe Teixeira is now serving 19 years in prison for the rape of 4 women. He is facing additional cases related to several sex crimes, including keeping teenage women as sex slaves in underground mines, forcing them to have his children, and selling their babies internationally for tens of thousands of dollars before murdering the women after about 10 years of childbirth. Oprah runs her own leadership academy for girls in Africa, a $40 million school for disadvantaged girls, where in 2007, several children were sexually abused and parents were only allowed to see their children once a month.
And I have said for years, if the abuser is any good, you won't even know it's happened.
Oprah was very close with disgraced Hollywood mogul, rapist, and abuser Harvey Weinstein. Her Me Too documentary ignored Weinstein and Jeffrey Epstein.
Anyone surprised by Oprah's links to notorious child sex traffickers and adrenochrome merchants wasn't paying attention. Oprah has been hiding in plain sight for decades.
It feels good. I mean, if you're 7 years old and somebody, which I was trying to say this to my friends who had children, you're 7 years old and someone is stroking your penis, it feels good. Right. Even though you don't have a name for what that is, it feels good.
With neighbours like Jeffrey Epstein and Oprah Winfrey, it's no surprise Gene Hackman had a knack for portraying evil characters on the screen. He didn't have to look very far for inspiration. He was surrounded by them, and they discussed. And then there's the timing of his death. Word on the street, well, from friends he confided in, was that Gene was gearing up for a comeback. Not to act, but to talk. He told people he was ready to step out of retirement and spill the beans on what he called the memory holing of the Epstein scandal. He knew things that could crack the case wide open, even if rogue FBI agents torched the files. And just as the Epstein cover-up heats up again in early 2025, Gene and Betsy turn up dead. Convenient, right? Was this a hit? Did the elite finally decide that Gene Hackman knew too much? We're heading to a break, but when we come back, we're laying it all out. The real reason Gene and Betsy had to die right now, the satanic cult that had been stalking him for years, and how it ties straight to Epstein's VIP client list. Today's sponsor is pillsforever.com. If you think Big Pharma have your best interests at heart, think again. Under Biden, the price of medicine in America has skyrocketed, and there are certain medicines Big Pharma don't want you to know about. That's why I've partnered with pillsforever.com. All of their FDA-approved medicines are the cheapest you'll find anywhere. More importantly, you can order medicines that Big Pharma don't want you to have, such as ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, and fenbendazole. Speaking of fenbendazole, not only does it get rid of parasites that live inside your body, there have been studies that show fenbendazole can help with cancer. Listen to this testimony of Joe Tippins, a cancer survivor thanks to fenbendazole.
2 years ago, Joe Tippin says he was told to go home, call hospice, and say his goodbyes. The doctors were unanimous. He was going to die of small cell lung cancer.
Once that kind of cancer goes that far afield, the odds of survival are less than 1%, and the median life expectancy is 3 months.
Tippin says he got a tip, not from a pharmacist, but a veterinarian. And in his desperation, he turned from people medicine to dog medicine. Specifically, fenbendazole.
My insurance company spent $1.2 million on me with traditional means before I switched to a $5 a week medicine that actually saved me.
Get 15% off using coupon code People's Voice at the checkout. Please click the link below this video or call 256-664-4170 to take advantage of this fantastic offer. Early reports of Gene Hackman's death contained shocking details. Claims of a satanic cult operating in Santa Fe tied to Epstein, liberal elites, and ritualistic murders. But within hours, those reports vanished, scrubbed from the internet. Why? According to an FBI source, this satanic cult is the missing piece of the puzzle. It connects Hackman to Jeffrey Epstein and his network of elite VIPs, including the Clintons. The deeper you dig, the clearer it becomes. Hackman knew things, and now somebody wants the truth buried with him.
I told you they were going to burn the Epstein case files, and I told you people were going to start disappearing. Gene Hackman didn't die by accident. It wasn't a coincidence. Him and his wife taken out together. No, that was a message. He knew too much, lived too close to the truth. Hackman wasn't one of Epstein's sick playmates. He was a neighbor down there near that ranch in New Mexico. He saw things he wasn't supposed to. The late-night jets, the bonfires lighting up the desert, the screams carried on the wind. He knew about the client list, names that'd make your stomach turn. Politicians, CEOs, royalty. He knew why the FBI is burying it all right now, torching files faster than you can blink. They're in panic mode, the elite. Epstein's dead, so they say, but the loose ends are flapping in the breeze, and Hackman was one of them. He wouldn't join their game, wouldn't kneel. So they sent the order down the line, and the cult in Santa Fe took care of it. Yeah, you heard me. A satanic cult, operating out of some sprawling compound in the hills. They're the syndicate's muscle in the Southwest, Epstein's go-to for the dirty work. Rituals, sacrifices, blood on the sand. It's not just crime, it's a religion to them. They killed Hackman and his wife, staged it clean, but they were just the hands. The heads are higher up, way higher. See, Zorro Ranch wasn't just a hideout, it was a slaughterhouse. They called it the Great Game, hunting kids, runaways, nobody snatched from the edges of the world. The cult ran the show, kept the altars warm, while Epstein's friends got their kicks. Hackman saw the motorcades roll in, the blacked-out SUVs, the private planes landing under moonlight. He heard the chants, saw the symbols carved into the rocks. He told me once, voice shaking, that it wasn't human, what they were doing out there. Epstein tried to bring him into the fold, tried to tempt him, tried to break him, but he refused. And then there's her, Hillary. Cold, calculating, untouchable, the wife of a president, but with a hunger that put him to shame. She never hunted alone, always had that hellhound by her side, big, black, mean as sin. That beast answered to no one but her. She'd chase those kids like a woman possessed, and when she didn't feel like playing, as Epstein called it, she let the dog do the work. I don't want to go into details, but this is some seriously sick shit. And when the hunt was over, well, that's when the real darkness began. That's the part no one wants to talk about. The symbols, the dark ceremonies, the child sacrifices, the young blood and goblets. This isn't just about power or pleasure. It's something older, something ancient. The FBI, we've known for years. Agents like me, we tried to dig, tried to blow it open, but every time the order came down, stand down, classified, national security. Push too hard, and you're gone, reassigned, retired, or just missing. Plenty of agents have gone missing, plenty suicided. The higher-ups are shielding the list, protecting the syndicate. It's not a government, not a company. It's older, darker. You don't climb to power unless you bow to it first. They're tidying up now, silencing anyone who can talk. Hackman's double murder? That was the cult, sure, but the command came from above. Someone untouchable, someone with a beast at her side. You know who I mean. That woman, all ice and ambition, married to power but hungrier than he'll ever be. She's in the files too. They'll come for me soon. Could be today, could be next year, doesn't matter. But if you're hearing this, know it's real. The syndicate's got the world on a leash and the FBI is holding the collar. Hackman knew, and they killed him for it. The only question is, how long before they come for you too?
Kathy O'Brien is a survivor of ritualistic abuse and MKUltra experiments as a young girl. She details the horrifying experiences she endured at the hands of some of the most highest-ranking officials of government, including the Clintons.
It was early evening when they played Most Dangerous Game.
I was stripped of my clothing. I was allowed to wear tennis shoes and told that I could have a head start and begin running before I would be hunted down. My exposure to it resulted in my believing I had no place to run and no place to hide. It seemed there were no limits to what could happen in my existence at that time.
It was most extreme, one of the most extreme situations I think I ever survived.
O'Brien testified to Congress and accused Hillary Clinton of rape, while affirming that she was a sex slave for Hillary and Bill Clinton, who are affiliated with an elite sex trafficking ring that purchases, abuses, and sacrifices children.
Trauma to carry out my first trial run operation. An enormous quantity of cocaine had been flown in on one of these operations, and I was to deliver it into the neighboring state of Arkansas. By that time, Bill Clinton's drug operation was in full swing. He was governor of Arkansas, and I delivered this cocaine to a remote airport in Ouachita Forest, which I've since identified as Mena Airport. I also delivered a little packet of information and a small quantity of cocaine, a personal stash from J. Bennett Johnston, to Bill Clinton. I delivered it to Bill Clinton, and he cut out 2 lines of the coke, and he did inhale. That certainly wasn't the only time I saw Bill Clinton using cocaine. My sexual experience with Bill Clinton was extremely limited, in spite of the fact that I was a sex slave. It was my experience that Bill Clinton is bisexual, leaning far more towards the homosexual end. All I've ever seen him involved in was the homosexual activity, with very limited experience with him myself. Whereas my experience was much more prevalent with Hillary Clinton, because Hillary is also bisexual, leaning more towards the homosexual end, and it was she who accessed my sex programming to fulfill her perversions. People have all kinds of belief systems, and I'm sure each and every one of you has various and different belief systems as well. Regardless of what your belief system is, it is imperative that you know that these criminals are people. They are within our realm to affect. They need to be held accountable for their actions and their crimes against humanity. And as I deprogrammed, and as I was, it was really something to me to find out people didn't know about this stuff. I mean, it was so obvious to me. I didn't realize that people were unaware and had bought into some kind of smoke and mirrors illusions of what was going on, and never thought to look behind the scenes to what was really going on. But I understand good people don't think that way. They don't have criminal minds. They don't think to look for that kind of criminal activity. Just like these guys are limited in their thinking by immorality, good people are kind of blinded from that kind of criminal activity until their eyes are open to truth.
Gene Hackman spent his career playing men who fought corruption, men who stood up to power. In the end, he tried to live that role, and it cost him everything. The truth he died for? It's still out there, buried in the shadows of Santa Fe, Zorro Ranch, and those private islands. The question is, who's next? Here at The People's Voice, we're determined to continue exposing the crimes of the elites, but we need your help. Subscribe to the channel, spread this video far and wide, and join the People's Voice Locals community to join our awesome community and support the channel. I hope to see you there. Today's video is brought to you by IPv6ers. Are you a content creator who wants to publish information online without Big Brother spying and censoring your every move? IPv6ers is set to revolutionize the way information is disseminated on the internet by eliminating the need for big tech companies to provide unreliable, overpriced services such as self-hosting, email, and data management. IPv6ers enables an easy and accessible way for you to host your own web and email server with direct end-to-end connections and enhanced security. This means no snooping from Big Brother and no interference from the technocratic elite. If Hillary Clinton can get away with running her own server, why shouldn't you? Go to thepeoplesvoice.tv/IPv6 to sign up, or click the link below this video to take back control of the internet and win the info wars against the globalists. If you like our content, help support our sponsor IPv6ers and go to thepeoplesvoice.tv/IPv6 today. Thank you IPv6ers for making this video possible.